The morning light was flickering on the cracked sidewalk of the parking lot just as Officer Daniels slammed his hand into Mr. Harold's battered old pickup truck. One day he was helping a young man carry a box of supplies. The next day he was dragged back like a hardened criminal. No warning, no respect, just a quick, growling accusation of suspicious behavior. His heart was pounding with anger and disbelief as he clutched his worn baseball cap, ignoring the sharp pain piercing his shoulder. If only this officer understood who he was humiliating in front of the whole district. 3 hours earlier, Harold Jefferson, known locally as Mr. Hap, had been an integral part of the community. At the age of 72, his tall physique withstood the burden of hard work throughout his life, but his spirit remained unbroken. Harold's kind eyes and deep, resonant laugh were familiar to anyone who had spent more than a week in Pinewood. That morning, he loaded up his truck to deliver groceries to a disabled neighbor on Elm Street. The sun had barely risen when he parked behind a hardware store, intending to get some extra nails for his side project. Construction of a ramp for another elderly resident of the neighboring block. The faint aroma of freshly brewed coffee from a cafe on the next street teased his senses. He thought about grabbing a cup quickly before heading out. As he was getting out of his truck, Harold noticed a young man struggling with a large crate near the loading dock. Without hesitation, he offered to help by grabbing one side of the box and loading it into the man's van. His calm, even presence immediately calmed the young man. "Thank you, Mr. Ham," the man said, shaking his head. "I don't know how I would have coped without people like you." Harold chuckled. "No problem. We take care of each other here." As he stepped back to his truck, the silence was broken by the sound of screeching machines. A police patrol roared into the parking lot, stopping a few feet from Harold's truck. A tall, broad-shouldered officer got out of it. His uniform was crisp, but his expression was stern. A shiny nameplate said Daniels. Without even saying hello, he barked, "Hey you. Hands where I can see them." Harold froze, startled by the sudden hostility. For a moment, he thought the policeman was talking to someone else, but Daniels was looking straight at him, his eyes narrowed with suspicion. The young man Harold had just helped about quickly disappeared around the corner, his footsteps hurried and nervous. "Sir, is there a problem?" Harold asked calmly, but with a hint of confusion. He raised his hands slightly, still clutching the cap in one of them. Daniels frowned. "What are you doing here?" "There have been reports of thefts in the area. It looks like you're up to something bad." Harold blinked, stunned. "I'm just helping, that's all." "Are you helping?" Daniels grinned. "This is new. Do you mind if I look in your truck?" Before Harold could answer, Daniels' partner, a young officer with a tense expression, approached the car. "Check the glove compartment," Daniels instructed, ignoring Harold's attempts to intervene. Harold's jaw tightened. "You can't just go through my stuff without a warrant," he said in an even but firm voice. Daniels grinned. "Don't get smart with me, old man." A small crowd began to gather. The cafe's patrons looked through the windows, a mixture of curiosity and discomfort on their faces. One elderly woman at the entrance muttered, "This is Harold, he always helps people." But no one stepped forward. Daniel grabbed Harold's arm and dragged him away from the truck, muttering something about random car inspections. Harold's heart began to beat wildly. He has lived in Pinewood all his life and has never been treated like this. His voice trembled slightly as he said, "This is my truck. It is registered, insured, and legal. There is no reason for this." Daniels didn't answer. Instead, he yanked Harold's arm higher, making him flinch. "Step back," he ordered, pushing him to the hood of the cruiser. Humiliation gripped Harold when he felt the eyes of the crowd on him. He was no stranger to difficulties, but this, being treated like a criminal in broad daylight, was a new kind of pain. His shoulders ached, but he forced himself to straighten up, not allowing the officer to notice his discomfort. "Sir," Harold began in a cautious tone. "I didn't do anything wrong." "This is wrong." Daniels grinned. "Let's take a look at this." As soon as the officer's partner started rummaging in the glove compartment, a voice came from the edge of the parking lot. "Hey, what's going on here?" Everyone turned around and saw Pastor Ray, a well-known figure in the community, striding towards them. His voice carried the kind of power that made people listen. "This is Mr. Harold Jefferson," Pastor Ray said in a firm tone. "What does this mean?" Daniels hesitated, his grip on Harold's arm loosening slightly. "We are conducting an investigation," he said in a defensive tone. "Suspicious activity has been reported in the area." "Suspicious activity?" Pastor Ray frowned. "To help someone carrying the box is now suspicious." Pastor Ray made a sign towards the growing crowd. "This man has done more for this city than most of us put together. If you accuse him of something, you'd better have proof." The tension in the air was palpable. Daniel's partner shifted uncomfortably, glancing from the crowd to Harold. "We're just doing our job," Daniels said, though his earlier confidence has waned. Harold took a deep breath, his voice flat but determined. "Your job is not to go after innocent people. I've spent my life helping this community, and I'm not going to stand here and let you treat me like I'm worse than a man." The crowd murmured in agreement. Several people started recording the scene on their phones. The young man Harold had helped earlier stepped forward with a trembling but determined voice. "He was helping me," he said. "That's it. He didn't do anything wrong." Daniel's face turned red. "We're done," he muttered, stepping back. His partner quickly followed him, without saying another word, closed the door of the truck. Harold squared his shoulders, wincing slightly as he adjusted his arm. He looked Daniels in the eye. "You need to think about how you treat people, because next time it may not end like that." Daniels didn't answer. He and his partner climbed back into the cruiser and left without even apologizing. As the crowd began to disperse, Pastor Ray put his hand on Harold's shoulder. "You handled it with dignity," he said. "But that shouldn't have happened in the first place." Harold nodded with a thoughtful expression on his face. "It's not just me. It's about making sure this doesn't happen to anyone else." By the time he got back to his truck, Harold's mind was already working. He knew he couldn't ignore it. He has spent decades teaching young people about fairness and honesty, and now it's time to take a firm stand. As Harold drove down Main Street, his thoughts drifted to his late wife Lorraine. She has always believed in standing up for what is right, no matter what the cost. He could almost hear her voice telling him to be strong. The memory brought a faint smile to his face, but it was quickly replaced by steely determination. When he reached the neighbor's house, he handed over the groceries with a kind word and a promise to check in later. Then he drove straight to the city hall. Harold has always avoided politics, preferring to work quietly in his community. But this incident was too serious to ignore. He asked permission to speak with the mayor, a young woman named Clara Morales, who was elected on a platform of fairness and transparency. Mayor Morales listened intently as Harold recounted the events of the morning. Her expression changed from shock to anger, and then to determination. "Mr. Jefferson, this is unacceptable," she said. "I will make sure that this is thoroughly investigated. No one in our city should be treated like that." Harold nodded, grateful for her support, but realizing that change would not come easily. "Thank you, Mayor," he said. "But it's not just me. It's about how we treat each other as a community." Over the next few weeks, Harold became the unwitting leader of a growing accountability movement in Pinewood. He spoke at town meetings, shared his story with local reporters, and encouraged others to share their experiences. His calm strength and unwavering dedication inspired people from all walks of life to unite. The incident in the parking lot was a turning point for Pinewood. The policy was revised, officers were retrained, and society began to restore trust. Harold's name has become synonymous with honesty and perseverance. One evening, sitting on the porch and watching the sunset over the city he loved, Harold experienced a deep sense of peace. He wasn't looking for this position, but he knew it was exactly where he needed to be. For the first time in a long time, he allowed himself to relax, knowing that the seeds of change had been planted, and that Pinewood's future was brighter because of it.